You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone revisited with Freddy and Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Freddy. How are you?
I'm good. Or good evening to the listener if you're listening when this just came out. It's either morning or evening.
Good afternoon. Good day.
Good day.
Good evening.
So we're talking about the whole truth today.
The whole truth. Nothing but that truth.
That's it with a W, W-H-O-L-E, not the whole truth. That's a totally different story.
Not the whole truth with an F.
Or that. This aired originally on January 20th, 1961. Now, the interesting thing about that is Kennedy was inaugurated the same day this episode aired. And part of the episode has to do with politics.
Yeah. That's right.
The 60s. Yeah. So I thought, timing was pretty great. Which, I mean, I guess they knew when the inauguration date was going to be and everything way in advance so they could plan it out.
Right.
So this is the first of 6 episodes directed by James Sheldon. So we got some new blood. And of course, they kick him off with one of these shot on tape episodes instead of film. Now he's going to come back for at least one of these is a shot on tape. I think Long Distance Call is shot on tape, but he directed that. He directed A Penny for Your Thoughts. It's a Good Life, which is a classic that they adapted in the movie. Twilight Zone, the movie in the 80s about the kid when Billy Mooney has the powers. Still Valley and Icing the Body Electric. He directed those episodes. But he was also, he worked on The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was a pretty popular adventure series in the 60s. He directed 4 episodes of the 76 Monster Squad series.
Huh.
If you remember that weird show, it's kind of just a footnote thing. It has nothing to do with the Monster Squad movie. It's really not a great show. But he also directed a couple episodes of the 66 Batman, which is, I think, a cultural icon.
Yeah.
This was written by Rod Serling. It's the, again, like I said, it was shot on videotape. This was the 3rd of 6 episodes. When we were just talking about this, they didn't, and I think we even said in some of the earlier episodes, we're like, I think we're near the end of the shot on tape run, but it's not a straight run. It goes back and forth. The 6 episodes they did that way are just peppered, throughout season 2.
Yeah.
But, and you know what? I didn't realize that Long Distance Call was shot on tape. And I think the lighting was so dark in that one that I think it was hard to tell. But that's a great episode. It's one of my favorites.
I don't remember that one. I know we did Lateness of the Hour, Night of the Meek, and now The Whole Truth. And then there's 22, Static, and Long Distance Call. But I can't remember any of those 3. So.
Yeah. You'll know Long Distance Call is the one with the bedridden old lady who keeps getting... Or wait, Long Distance Call might actually be the one with the little boy whose grandma's calling him on the toy phone.
Oh,
I'm not sure which one is. I think Long Distance Call, and I'm testing I could look this up, but I'm not going to. One of them is the old lady, the dead old lady calling on the toy phone, her grandson, Billy Mooney again. And the other one that I think is the Long Distance Call, because they both have something about call in the title, is the one with the bedridden lady getting mysterious calls, waking her up in the night and like she thinks are pranks,
I'm laughing because when you said toy phone, I always thought you were going for toilet. She's getting a phone call all the time.
His dead grandma called him on the toilet. But
Billy, I need some help, please.
Ooh, that's very Stephen King.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, the setting of this episode. Again, this is one of those with just one setting. It's Harvey Honeycutt's used car lot, where you can get a deal on a piece of shit linen.
This guy is just a piece of work.
Yeah. Jack Carson. This is a popular character actor. He was pretty successful in comedies, musicals, and dramas after he arrived in Hollywood back in 1937.
Wow.
Yeah, he became kind of a wisecracking comedian. He was on the radio too in the 40s and 50s and TV. He hosted a show called All-Star Review and the Colgate Comedy Hour. Colgate has sponsored the shit out of a lot of entertainment in the 50s and 60s. Despite a slowed movie career in the 50s, He appeared in notable films like A Star is Born, the original Star is Born.
Oh, wow. With Judy Garland and somebody.
I can't remember who else was in that. Well, Jack Carson was in it. And he was in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, the film adaptation of that. 133 acting credits, which sounds like, by today's standards, that's a huge number.
Right.
You know, not a lot of actors have that, but it's not. By then, at that time, you'll see that as we in this episode and the next, and frequently throughout the Twilight Zone, you're finding some of the most experienced and prolific actors of all time, of screen actors. Yeah. So that's really like nothing. 133 to the Twilight Zone cast. They're like, yeah, whatever. During the 1940s, Jack Carson, he would often disappear from Hollywood for weeks at a time, just mysteriously vanish. And only his wife knew where he was. And his dirty secret was that he was going off and performing for the Clyde Beatty Circus as a clown and traveling around the country. And nobody knew it. Yeah, nobody knew it was this big star, Jack Carson. But he was performing in clown makeup just anonymously. And he was really good.
Wow. I wonder if that was like a way to reconnect with his, kind
of vaudeville
performance roots. Yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. Well, these guys are like, kind of like, they just want to act all the time. They want to be performing and entertaining people constantly. That's why they rack up, I think, so many credits.
It's like a stand-up artist who goes into comedy films today, going back and doing the stand-up route or circuit.
Or like when they pop up at a comedy club, just unannounced, which a number of stand-ups are notorious for doing that.
Yeah. James Mason, by the way, was opposite Judy Garland. That was the 1954 version of A Star is Born.
Is that the original, or is there one before
No,
that?
There's one before that, 1937.
I was about
David
to say,
Selznick.
I just thought about that. I was like, wait a minute. They think they're...
Jeez Louise.
There's so many versions of that movie.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I think they even did like a made-for-TV one at one point. So... The audiences, again, never knew that was Jack Carson performing as a clown, which I just find that really wild. And he has a great quote in the episode, "I've got more lemons per square foot than a fruit drawer in Salinas."
He's got another line that he's got a whole spiel where he uses all this local like slang of the time, and I captured it just so we could kind of pick it apart. I thought it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, it's
the second appearance of Gleep, which is one of my favorites.
Yes. And this is a straight comedy episode. So like there are a handful of these that are just straight up comedies. And this is definitely a little comedy fairy tale.
Right.
Then we have Honest Luther Grimbley, who is this guy is a politician who's going to turn up on the lot. Pretty important part of the story. This is the first of two appearances by Loring Smith. He's going to come back in I Dream of Jeannie, the episode I Dream of Jeannie, not the series. He was an actor known for Shadow of the Thin Man, which are like these kind of film noir mystery movies. That's a series of movies, The Thin Man. He was in Close Up in 1948 and Pat and Mike, which I have no friggin' idea what that is, but he's known for it. It came out in 52, to be fair. He was married to Natalie Sawyer. He only had 33 acting credits. So what a lazy sack of shit.
33. That only makes you sort of famous.
Old man who drives the haunted Model A onto the lot. We've never given this guy's name. That's director George Chandler. He's the guy who gets the ball rolling with the whole. He brings the Twilight Zone into the car lot, so to speak. Versatile actor. He transitioned from vaudeville to film and television, as a lot of Twilight Zone performers did. He is best known for his roles in Lassie, the original Lassie, and the Twilight Zone, of course, and more. This is the thing. The reason I say and more is he was America's most prolific character actor. And I think no one's beaten his record yet, but 472 acting credits.
Wow.
And that's just screen acting credits, like he worked in vaudeville before that. So
he's definitely got one of those faces that you're like, I feel like I've seen that before, but I can't.
Yeah. It's crazy. He just really a lot That I think is the top number. I don't know if anybody's going to beat that. There's a young man as well who's on the lot shopping with his wife for a car. The interesting thing about the guy playing the young guy, that's Jack Ging, who he was an American actor, of course, known for his roles in television and film. He was an ex-Marine, played college football, and then studied drama before he just switched to acting full time in 1958. And he was on the A-Team, if you're a kid of the 80s. A lot of films and TV, 111 acting credits, so a little bit of a slacker too. And then he had a second life after acting. He became a real estate agent and a golfer.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
He's like, I want to do dull stuff now. Although being a real estate agent isn't so bad.
Maybe with his only over 100 acting credits, he couldn't really, cut it as a professional actor. So he's like, I'm going to go make some real money.
If I can't do it by now. He was fine though. Then the young woman, now the reason I bring her up is these two actors really don't have a lot to do in this episode. But they're important to the story, but they have very minimal dialogue. They're just there to be scammed. And but that's Nan Peterson, who this is already her third of 4 appearances in the series. She's already been on Walking Distance, Night of the Meek, and she's going to come back on the episode From Agnes with Love, to end her run. But I just thought it's interesting to me, like people were willing to take roles of any size, I think, for Rod Serling. They'll go all over the gamut for this series. So I think that speaks to like how respected and how special it was. People started to catch on when he was doing like Playhouse 90, that people were like, that's a guy I want to work with. He's so talented. Yeah. So you'll see throughout the series, people who could have been doing anything, playing really small roles. The premier's aide. So we get into like the third act of the story. It turns out that's Patrick Westwood. He was an actor. He was known for Crime of the Century, The Indian Tales of Rudyard Kipling, and Space 1999. If you never watched like these Rudyard Kipling adaptations, there's like just mildly like Rudyard Kipling, I think, was maybe a racist. I'm not really sure, but that's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much all the nitty gritty technical stuff. Again, shot on video. So one of those things that did it help or hurt it in this episode? I think overall it didn't make a difference. It's just comedy.
There's one face that I wanted to ask you about that I recognized, but I don't think, did you mention Irv, Artie Johnson character?
I skipped over Irv. Yeah, thank you for that. Artie Johnson, from Laugh-In. Artie Johnson plays Irv. It's Harv's his only employee, I think. At least the only one we see. Artie Johnson's kind of a legend. I can't believe I've glossed over him. He was in Love at First Bite, which is a pretty funny vampire comedy from the 80s. He had 182 acting credits, including a ton of 80s voices. He was Professor Crookshank in the movie Munchie too, which if you've never seen, have you seen Munchie?
I haven't. No.
It's like a Gremlin. It was part of the Gremlins cash in where everybody was trying to make something movie with little creatures in it,
Oh, the ghoulies and the critters and all those. Yeah.
This one is like super campy and like kind of like there's something grotesque about it, even though it's mostly this little puppet. I highly recommend, if you like good, bad movies, Munchie is like a must-see.
Is that the puppet that looks like it belongs in the Garbage Pail Kids movie?
Yeah, thereabouts. It's kind of a kind of cute little puppet character. But yeah, Munchie, okay. Munchie, I believe. And then I think there might have even been some sequels to it, if I remember right. But nice. So Artie Johnson's going to come back in the Twilight Zone, well, not the Twilight Zone, but Night Gallery, which for those if you're listening to this and you've been listening all along, Night Gallery was kind of just a rebranded Twilight Zone. Because Serling didn't like what the network was doing. So he's in the Flip Side of Satan episode. I love Night Gallery. I can't wait. I'm sure we'll cover it. when we run out of Twilight Zones. So yeah, Artie Lang, Artie Johnson. Yeah, he had over 60 like comic characters that he would play. He had like a repertoire of in his mind of 60 different personalities, which sounds like a mental illness, but it's not. He had Tyrone F. Horny, who if you grew up anytime between like the late 60s and early 80s, you saw Laugh-In probably because it was constantly on syndication. That was the dirty old man character that would sit on the park bench with Ruth Buzzy and basically just be a dirty old man, and she'd hit him with her purse and stuff. And that was mostly the joke. But he was also Peter Rosmensko, which is this Eastern European song and dance guy. He was Rabbi Shankar, who was an Indian guru.
Rabbi Shankar instead of Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because I believe Artie Johnson was Jewish. And he was just great. He would ride the little cycle too, the little tricycle or whatever, and fall off of it. You know, that's who this guy is. He was also the voice of one last thing. He was the voice of Dave Barry's audiobooks. So yeah,
and Dave Barry was big in the 80s as like a comedy standby.
Yeah, he even had a sitcom called Dave's World where Harry Anderson played Dave Barry in it. Like Dave Barry was a huge comedy. He wrote essays, and and his books are really funny. It was also Dave Barry was in a band with him and Stephen King had a band of writers that played together, and they wrote a band together, which I think is hilarious.
Playing music and doing lots of coke, no doubt.
I think this was probably by the time he had already slowed down.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like a dad band kind of situation, you know?
Hey man, you want to make a band? Yeah, that'd be great. All right, cool.
Yeah, so thank you for reminding me about Artie Johnson.
Yeah, all good.
I never would have forgiven myself for not mentioning it. All right. So you want to get into the meat of it, Joe?
Let's do it. Let's get to that meat.
All right, go for it, buddy.
All right. So we start off and we're a used car salesman lot and kind of pans in, and there's our main star is Honeycutt. It's Harvey Honeycutt, and he kind of waves off a car he's just sold. It's a total junker. You can see rust spots on it, and he's as it drives off, it backfires like twice loudly. He's like, "Too much power, huh?" And so it takes off, and he's kind of, you can tell he's got that whole like air about him of like the shyster. He's kind of.
Do you think the wardrobe helps too? Like, because they put him in conflicting patterns from he's wearing a full 3-piece suit, but they're all different patterns.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be, I don't know if the word is trashy, but like,
gaudy.
It's gaudy. Yeah. Like, kind of, I look real stylish. Like, this is a nice vest, and this is a nice, coat, and this is a thing, and I look flashy, and almost, he stands out. So it's black and white, but so you can't quite tell, but with the patterns and all that, it's like, oh yeah, he's something. So he walks over and he talks to a couple, a fairly young man and woman, and they say they're interested in maybe a coupe, a more recent model, and he immediately cuts them off and starts doing his sales spiel, which is to kind of manipulate them into trusting him and saying all this stuff about, oh no. And you got to understand that here's the truth of the situation. You don't want a more recent model car. You want one of these old, reliable, dependable cars that people made with pride, and start layering all this stuff on here, and he's like, you shocked me. Your husband shocked me just now. Like, he's doing the whole thing where he talks to both of them, and it's just very, I don't know. I hate that sales pitch. That's the one where I'd be like, all right, I wouldn't even stay. I would just leave. But he goes into it and deeper and deeper. Anyway,
He does ironically say we're not pushy around here.
Yeah, right. We'll let you do whatever you want. But let me tell you, Emily, not even stop to breathe, and I keep talking at you. And so he goes, he's butting up, and he does his best to convince them, saying all this stuff about how the older cars were better, and he should stick with that. And the young man's like, we just want to kind of look at the car. And he's like, oh yeah, of course, get inside it, sit in there. And he leaves that because another older man has pulled up in a Model A, and as he does, we hear the intro voiceover. This, as the banner is already proclaimed, is Mr. Harvey Honeycutt, an expert on commerce and con jobs, a brash, bright, and larceny-loaded wheeler and dealer, who, when the good Lord passed out a conscience, must have gone for a beer and missed out. And these are the couple of other characters in our story, a little old man and a Model A car, but not just any old man and not just any Model A. There's something very special about both of them. As a matter of fact, in just a few moments, they'll give Harvey Honeycutt something he's never experienced before. Through the good offices of the little magic, they will unload on Mr. Honeycutt the absolute necessity to tell the truth. Exactly where they come from is the conjecture, but as to where they're heading for, this we know, because all of them, and you, are on the threshold of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
So it says right there, he's going to have to tell the truth. And so we hear that from there. And so this old guy comes up and he's got an old vintage Model A car, one of the first ones, first cars made on the assembly line, all that. And he's trying to sell it. And they go back and forth. And of course, this is where Honeycutt completely flips his story from, well, you don't want one of the old cars. Old cars don't sell anymore. This is what everybody's telling you is what old cars sells. He's like, it's all the new cars. So this, I can't really get any. This is for the junk dealer. I'll have to break it down bolt by bolt to sell it. But I'll give you $15 for it. And they start going back and forth. And he talks about how the old cars are like an old con, and it's like, oh, so he just totally flipped his story, and totally typical. And so they go back and forth, and the older guy is just kind of like, yeah, well, it's an older car, but I think they're built better then. And so going back and forth, they settle on a price, and they go into the office. In fact, they don't settle on a price. Honeycutt basically just tells them, this is the price I'm going to give you. Going, gone. Oh, now I'm going to sell it to you. Like hurries him up, and
it ends up being something like $25, I think, ultimately. Yeah. And it's interesting because those Model A's now, even one in that condition would be worth like 10 grand,
which is bonkers. Which at the time, I think even looking at it, he could tell it still had like the flip case on the back and stuff like that. So he's probably like, oh yeah, I can get some money off of this. Like it's not really for the car part. It's more for the classic part of it. But he, of course sells it like he's going to be junk. So they go into the office, this tiny little office they have on the lot, to do the paperwork. And he says, the old man says, I have to tell you though, it's haunted. And he's like, oh, really? It's haunted? Okay. And so they're back and forth bantering, and of course Honeycutt's being super condescending, but like in the complimentary, smarmy salesman way, which is really creepy. But he says, the old man, as they're leaving, he says, I think you may find that you've actually gotten the best of the bargain at that. And Honeycutt goes, my ancient friend, you do me the ultimate injustice.
My ancient friend.
Insults his age. He is condescending. You do me the ultimate injustice. Our little transaction, haunted or otherwise, was my charity case for the day. You dwell on that, will you? Dwell on it. I was like, oh man, you were so nice being an asshole right there.
I'm still hung up on I want to add my ancient friend to my catalog of things I call my friends.
Be like, my ancient friend, let me tell you something.
It sounds satanic.
It does. Hello, my ancient friend. So as he says that, the old man goes, no, Mr. Honeycutt, you dwell on it. And I rather think you will. And it's like, and the Honeycutt's like, yeah, okay, whatever, get out of here. But the old man knows something. he's going to have to tell the truth. But he didn't tell him that. He just said it's cursed and it's haunted. So Honeycutt goes back to the couple, and he now owns the Model A, and he goes over to talk to them, and he immediately starts telling. They're like, "Okay, well, what about this car?" And he's like, "Oh, you can't buy it." They said, "How much is it?" And he said, "You can't buy it. It's not for sale." And they're like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, it's broken down. It's this and that." And he starts immediately telling all the actual facts about this piece of junk that they were going to buy. And you see his face kind of turn as he's like telling the truth. And he's basically like, they're like, "Can we look at another car?" And he goes, "No, you don't want any of these cars. None of them are worth it. You should actually go someplace where they're respectable and they'll treat you right and all that." And they're like, "Okay, well, let's go." So then they leave. And he's like, "What?" So he goes back to the office, and he starts talking to Irv, who has shown up. This is Artie Johnson, a very young Artie Johnson.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it, and it's kind of talking him through, and he's like, you got to understand, you got to the soft, you can't jump right to the hard sell. You got to soft sell it first. You got to build that relationship, and then, you take him back and forth, and you wheel him around. And, but then he starts talking about this Model A that he bought, and he's like, "This is nuts. This is the power suggestion or something. Hey, that old gleep that sold me a Model A, a real nutsy, gave me a song and dance about a haunted car. You get that? A haunted car. And I was stupid enough to stand there and listen to him. What I should have done is called up the local hatch, reserved a rubber room for him." And he gets on the phone. Okay, so how do I break that thing down? So gleep, I found out, I looked up, was used mostly in the 40s and 50s, I guess. Apparently it's originated from biker culture, which is interesting. But he said a gleep was an oafish, or it says a gleep is oafish or socially awkward person. So it's just like, what a maroon.
Wasn't Gleep also Gloop's brother on like Thundar the Barbarian?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gleep and Gloop.
It actually and then there's a more recent reference for it too. I can't remember what it was, but it was like from a video game or something.
Really?
But yeah.
Did you guys use the word gleek when you were in school?
Yes. Gleek was
to spit.
Yes, it was gleek. My understanding was gleeking was when you would project spit from underneath your tongue at somebody, and there were people who could do that. It was creepy.
Yeah, that's what we thought gleeking was too. So it's at least across the Midwest,
right?
We can say from Minnesota to Ohio.
Yeah,
Gleeking.
2 points of reference.
Gleep and gloop and gleek.
Gleep and gloop and glob and globe.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
Well, I was doing the Def Leppard.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's Unterglieben, Glauben, Globen, I think. Anyway, I got something to say. Better to burn out than to fade away.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, enough. So he basically tells them they all leave. He talks to Irv, gives him this whole line. Oh, and then he says, real nutsy. And then I should have called a local hatch. And I'm assuming that's like a local.
Yeah, the booby hatch.
Well, I don't know. He said I should have called a local hatch, and reserved a rubber room for him. So I imagine that's like they used to call Funny Farm.
Yeah.
So maybe hatch is like a hatchery, maybe some reference in there.
Yeah, have you never heard nut hatch? Yeah, it's slang for a mental hospital.
I've never heard that before.
And I've heard booby hatch before too, but nut hatch, booby hatch.
Wild. All right. Apparently a nuthatch is also a bird.
That's where you go if someone gleeks in your eye and you can't handle it.
Sorry. I laughed directly into the microphone. Okay. So all that, and then he calls his wife and he's like, "Honey, I'm not going to be home tonight." He said something about, he goes, "Yeah, I'm not going to be home tonight." He said, "I'm going to go play poker with the boys." And as he's saying it, he's like, "What am I saying?" He's like, "And last week when I told you I had inventory, that's whenever I say inventory, I'm playing poker with the boys." And she starts ranting at him over the phone, and he ends the call, basically goes to commercial break.
It was always poker with the boys. That was the thing that men were doing and hiding from their wives, was poker with the boys. It's universal in that era.
Right. What a weird, anyway. Okay, so then it comes commercial break. Back from commercial break, he's sitting in his office and he hasn't sold a car in 3 days. And Irv comes in with some signs that apparently Honeycutt has asked him to make, and they're all like negative stuff, like
Yeah.
this doesn't work, you shouldn't buy this, poor performance, this sort of stuff. And so they're going back and forth, and he's like, "Come on, man, there's a limit to how much honesty you can do." And he's like, I can't, I don't know what's going on. And so Irv asks him, he's like, "By the way, I was going to ask you, it's been 6 months today. You said if I sold 3 cars, I could get a raise. So, what's the deal with that?" And Harvey is like, "Oh," he's again, honestly, is like, I string at people along. I never give raises. I just turn over people. There's no way I would give you a raise ever." And Irv's like, "Well, then I got something for you." And then he hauls back and punches the guy out.
Yeah.
Knocks him unconscious, and puts a sign that says "Not guaranteed, in poor condition" on him before leaving, which I thought was like, oh man,
Yeah.
one little touch. So Honeycutt wakes up, and gets out back on the lot and encounters Honest Luther Grimley. This is the politician running for re-election, and he's interested in the Model A, and he starts kind of bargaining for it and going back and forth. And of course, he's a politician, so he's all about the wheeling and dealing, and he's trying to recognize another con. Don't con me, boy. You gotta give me all the strings that are attached. And he's got that whole real, the eye motion and all of it. It's very sleazy politician.
I second that eye motion. Sorry,
I just got it. Eye motion. So basically he's like, "Well, you don't want this car. It's not in good shape. It's okay, but it's not great, and it's cursed, And he's like, "Cursed?" And so he starts telling about how it's cursed and how he has to tell the truth if he's got it. And Grimley, like, his eyes bug open, and he's like, "Really?" And he's like, if I couldn't lie, I couldn't give a single speech. I couldn't do my job." And he's so brutally honest about it that he starts thinking about other stuff. And he's like, "Well, wait a minute, but you're for real?" And he asks him about another car, and Honeycutt's like, "No, that one's a jalopy. You can't, whatever. You can't use that one either." He's like, "Wait a minute, you're telling the truth. You actually can't lie because of that car." And he's like, "Well, what if somebody else owned this car? Like this fella here." He takes a newspaper and he points to somebody in the newspaper. And the other guy's like, "Oh, that would maybe be the ultimate gag." And they're like, "Yeah." And so it clips to a moment later where Honeycutt is negotiating with this person with an English accent who's a representative for the boss. And they kind of go back and forth, and he's being truthful, but only kind of half truthful. And he's saying, you could sell this car as an anti-American propaganda tool, exemplifying shoddy U.S. workmanship and stuff. And so they kind of go back and forth, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'll sign for it." And he says to they say, no, Honeycutt says, no, the boss needs to sign for it. And he's like, "Oh, you want a souvenir, huh? A little, what does he say? Something like something memorabilia or whatever like that. And keepsake." And he's like, yep, that's what it is. So the guy walks over to this car and has the boss sign it, and the boss signs it. That's it. He owns it. And then they finish the scene, and he said, "You can go ahead and drive that car right off right now." So they get in the car, and the final scene is it's the embassy guy, and the person who bought the car is Nikita Khrushchev. That's where they pointed in the paper that he is driving off, that he was visiting the U.S. And they have some guy who looks kind of like Khrushchev in the
Pretty
car,
good.
the auto, waving and saying hello to everybody. And Honeycutt walks over to the phone and says, calls Washington and asks if he can get in touch with Jack Kennedy because he has some information about that he might want.
So current for the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Right.
talking about completely dating the episode, but like the whole Khrushchev Kennedy stuff is really, if you're not a student of history, is really worth reading about, because it's like the beginning of the whole Cuban Missile Crisis stuff.
Yeah.
And just changed the world completely.
Yeah. And I think Khrushchev was, like, some people say that Khrushchev had some slip-ups there where, you know, he could have brought it differently. And he was a very intimidating character. If you look at the famous, shoe on the podium speech, where he takes his shoe off and he's banging it against the podium. And
you mean like almost dictatory type stuff?
Well, just like intimidating. And with the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was like, it was a big risk that Kennedy took. Anyway, we get the outro after that as he's driving away, and he says, "Couldn't happen, you say? Far-fetched, way out, tilt off center, possible? But the next time you buy an automobile, if it happens to look as if it had just come through the Battle of the Marne, and the seller is ready to throw in the bargain one of his arms, if the seller's ready to throw in the bargain one of his arms, be particularly careful in explaining to the boss about your grandmother's funeral when you're actually at Chavez Ravine watching the Dodgers. It'll be a fact that you're a proud possessor of an instrument of truth, manufactured and distributed by an exclusive dealer in the Twilight Zone."
Chavez Ravine.
Yeah, so I totally botched that. But basically, it's like, if you're going to lie about where you are and you say you're at your grandmother's funeral and you're actually at a Dodgers game at Chavez Ravine, which I've never heard of before.
Me neither. I'm looking it up right now.
He basically says, yeah, just be careful, because if you own that car.
It's where Dodger Stadium is. It's in Chavez Ravine.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, learned something today.
So, yeah, so it's a comedy episode. Probably doesn't quite hit the same way these days, but it's kind of a fun, is the first kind of liar thing that I've ever, found here. So I
think it directly inspired Liar as well. I think the writer was like based it on this episode.
That's funny.
Yeah, the concept, obviously.
Now,
he didn't fart in an elevator in the episode.
I'm actually super excited about next week, because it's one of my favorite episodes. It's my mom's favorite episode, and hearing that makes me really happy, because she wasn't like a giant sci-fi fan, but like she really likes this episode. So.
Serling's favorite by anyone who didn't, besides himself. It's not his favorite episode, but it's the favorite one he didn't write.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and it's The Invaders.
It's a good one. This was The Invaders. When we get into that, that was like one of the first Twilight Zones I ever saw. When I got really into, like, really was watching it, deliberately, because I bought the Columbia House tapes, which were the ones in the clamshells. Yeah.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And The Invaders was like the first one I think that came in the mail.
When we're talking about this, folks, if you're a person of a certain age, Columbia House was a service you could pay for, and then a lot of times you could buy a couple of cheaper either movies or cassette tapes or videotapes up front, and then they would like subscribe you to their thing, and you had to buy a certain number.
Scam.
All the price went super sky high, and then they charge you for everything.
What up? You get free or a penny, which is hard to resist when you're like 14 or 15 years old. And the thing comes in the mail, and it's just a bunch of stamps that you can lick and stick to an order sheet. And they're like, they're a penny a piece. You get 20 movies for 20 cents plus shipping and handling. And then all you got to do is buy another 20 movies over the course of a year at $30 to $40 a pop.
Right. So it was a scam, but in reality, a lot of us did it. And so it's very familiar.
Yeah. I can't wait. It is really great. So thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Freddie.
And thanks,
everybody.